Hello everyone. My name is Minseok. I'm a PhD candidate at Rutgers University currently, and I'm going to be assistant professor at South Indian University of Adamsville. It is my absolute honor that I get grab the chance to join the Rutgers online conference, online learning conference. And today, I will show you how to easily and interactively teach Python coding to business school students by using Colab and ChatGPT. Teaching a coding to business school students is actually has a quite big hurdle. So the first reason is most students don't have any background on computer language because in our majors, we have finance majors, supply chain, could be operation management or accounting and marketing. Some finance major they might need to study, and if information system that you might have some background knowledge on computer language. But most of students, marketing, accounting, supply chain, even though Python language is very beneficial for data analytics and some analytic tool packages, they don't really have a background knowledge of it. So that's why most students are not really ready to do Python coding. And then also most students don't have enough time to learn Python step by step in a class, which is not really designed for coding study. So let me explain little more details. First, students are not ready. It means beginners, Python, coding beginners are struggling, they face struggling with environment setting up for Python language. In case of Python, you need to, it requires that you have to install the different libraries, and it actually varies by what type of Python version you have. And to really know the best environment for the task and also for your computer, you need to do some experiments. The problem is you have to use a pip and Anaconda for library and it actually causes more complexity. The problem is the setup, like the way you set up and the way you use Python can be varied by what type of like OS operating system you have, which actually double the complexity of the instructing, like how to set up the Python to students. And these challenges are creating more and more complicated in online learning, which actually can lead to like huge chaos in online learning. Because even before you start the Python teaching, coding teaching to your students, you already realize that students are suffering because setting up the Python. So if you just go to next step and try to teach them some Python based, data analytics or like getting the solution of the model, you will see that they keep asking, how can I run it? How can I get even into the Python language? Second, most of students, like in business school, not only business school actually, if they're not majoring like computer science, and or engineers, they don't really have a background knowledge about it. So if your students start with one-on-one class in computer science majors, they teach how computer actually work and also, how the memory allocation work or, how the data structure really, like how the computer actually behave. So based on that, they learn how computer you do the computer language programming with the object-oriented, coding knowledge, data structure, or databases. And sometimes, they also cover the program languages, including Python, Java, and SQL and C++. So that's why they can handle it. But think about the business school students, or even like any kind of like a non-computer science majors. They don't have like a concrete background. So that's why even though Python has like a very strong tool packages, libraries, you don't really cannot like, show them and try to your students because you already know that they don't really have a background knowledge about this. And also the third reason is you don't really have enough time to teach students with the coding. And also the students don't really have time to study yet. In many cases, business school classes, coding is just a tool. So that's why coding should not be the main goal of the course. Because in business class, even like very related to coding, the first priority as an instructor is we need to give them the managerial insights. So which means we are making a manager, we're teaching them the business knowledge, we're not in computer science major, you know. So that's why, for example, if I teach optimization, we teach them how to how to do the model, like formulating the model from just by reading the question or when they face a new business scenario. They need to come up with objective function, constraints, and variables, like knowledge, mathematical knowledge. So that's why they need to study math and also background knowledge of supply chain and operation management. And then they learn how to like do the modeling with the Excel and using the solver, they get the solution. And possibly they might be able, at least they can learn Python coding. Then they can do a better solution with this, get a better solution problem solving with the Python language. So that's why, you know, among like a 14 weeks, you have 14 weeks of whole curriculum, but actually like you don't re you probably only have like 10 to 20 hours maximum to teach them the Python coding, which is very limited. So now today I'm gonna show you how can we use a Google Colab, and also ChatGPT to overcome those challenges. So Google Colab is a cloud service, free cloud service, allow users to write and execute the Python, coding through their own browsers. So it does not like need to set up like any libraries. So no setup required, which means Python notebook, you basically, students having Python notebook without the need to set up the local machines. So they can just go to their, Google and Google Colab and just with their Chrome or even Safari, they can just run their Python notebook without any setup. And someone might ask, wait, then like you don't really need to like go to Anaconda and download the NumPy, SciPy. No, most of the important and popular libraries already set up in the Colab. So like if the coding use specific library that they might need to install it, but it's also very much, very easier than just using a terminal in a Mac OS or using Anaconda in a Python. And also you can share your Python notebook with others, which I also going to show you, which allows for easy collaboration on project, which also we can use some kind of online classroom. And also you save your file to your Google Drive. You can keep all your project organized and accessible from anywhere. And if you share it, you can also share it with anyone. And Google Colab is not the only tool that I'm going to show you today. We'll also show you how to use ChatGPT for optimization, and then you can use this, like integrate with Colab, and you can actually facilitate the real-time coding guidance and feedback for the optimization. Business school, like coding teaching. So ChatGPT is it's kind of like a very intelligent AI chatbot, but when you ask some questions about like how many cats, like cat on the top, dog on the top, these kind of like a very like a typical logical question. We already if you're already a user of ChatGPT, you actually sometimes feel like ChatGPT is answering very weird questions because AI is AI. So the way they like the amount that they can process answer to your question is still kind of limited. But if you only think about writing the code, and then if you only think about like, building up the code for the Python, in many cases, actually, it's even better than beginner or even intermediate level of Python coders. Because Python coding, I mean, computer language coding is built up on the logical, uh, built up on the logic, and then computers actually doing can show you better performance than most of the coders for certain task. So it's like automated coding writing that you can, as students can easily use it, and it can definitely help to the people, I mean students, without deep knowledge of Python, because it basically if you just put your mathematical model into the ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will print the code for students, and they can just basically just copy and paste it. And also, if they face the error, then you can bring it to the ChatGPT again, and you can also fix the error. So today, I will show you two examples. So first one is production problem linear programming model, and the second is Excel solver. Second is a transportation model, which actually many instructors having hard time to teach this with the Excel solver, which is kind of traditional method. So when we teach students with solver and like kind of traditional method, so for example, we use Excel, and then we can activate the solver, activate the solver. And by using this solver, we teach them how to get the optimal solution of the model. So you first have to get the model. I mean, they first need to learn how to formulate the model, like complete linear modeling with the variables, objective function, and constraints. And once they're done with the modeling, then they bring it to the solver like this. And then they run the solver and they find the optimal point and the solution. But the problem is, once the model become kind of complicated, so let's say your transportation model now have like 120, warehouses or retail stores, and then you have 25 different factories, supply locations. And also you're not the multi-stages transportation that you actually have to copy and paste this. And then you need to consider like a multi-stage, like a multi-levels of, supply chain optimization. Then it's quite hard to teach this big size of modeling because it takes a long to just build it up. And then if they want to make some change, then they need to carefully look at every formula. Okay, you can see the formula, and then they have to fix each like formula one by one. And then it's a lot of work for the students, and also they also already kind of feel that students also know that, oh, this is not going to work in the real world. So, like traditional modelers, a professional model like us, we learn like Cplex and we use Groupy, but those kind of Groupy and the Cplex, it requires some computer language knowledge. But the thing is, just like what I already showed you here, from the previous, like challenges, like we don't have like the students are not ready and they don't have background, and then we don't really have enough time. So that's why I'm gonna show you the Colab. Here we go. So Colab, the way to get Colab is very easy. You just go to Google Colab. Google and search Google Colab. It will show you their platform here, like Google Notebook, and they have a lot of good, introduction of their Google Colab platform, and also there's a tutorial how to use it. But if you already have like a experience of using like a Jupyter notebook before, or Mathematica, like Wolfram, those kind of any kind of like a computer language platform for solving the problem, you're probably already familiar with like this kind of notebook style of computer computer language platform. So this is also like you can like run the code with some kind of compiler here, And you can also leave the notes to your students. You see, you can also leave the notes to students. So students also can read your notes and then they study it and then they can also run the code. This is actually very beneficial because, this is how we normally teach the students. So in online, or learning that environments, it's very hard to, like teach just coding. Even though we are in in-person class, we just use a big display or beam project and show them the coding and run it and tell it, run it and tell it. But that's a kind of it doesn't really give interaction between students and you because you're just showing them the code, but there's no explanation. That's why Colab is amazing. It's like a advanced level of Jupyter. So this is kind of just online browser, you see? It's just an online browser. But basically you can also put the video and then just by running the code, then you can see that like, you can give them the notes to students. And after students read it, fold it, unfold it, and then, like students can just run the code, your code, and also they can type in more about it, and they can also run their own code, you know. So they study with the notes and your code, and you see they also face the error, and then they learn. I mean, this is a kind of small experiment place. It's quite amazing, right? Yeah. But the reason I'm bringing up here is I actually want to show you more like kind of the way you can use it for online teaching. So just like because when you teach students in an online environment, what I feel when I teach it is it's very hard to interact with your students. And also, ever since you make some kind of change, then you also every time you have to upload it to the like Canvas or Blackboard, and then you need to re-download it. And that's actually kind of a lot of work. But you can see that this collab is more like it's a every file is based on like a is saved in the Google Drive. And then just like how you share the Google document with your workers, with coworkers, or your students, you know, you can also share your like these notebook, this all the code and all the result with your students just by sharing your link. Or you can click the button here, right here. You see the share, and then just by clicking it, and then just put the emails of your students, you can share the whole file and whole result with your students. So let me show you. So this is just a simple, simple like a code for the modeling that I already typed it in. Okay. And then now I want to share this with my students. And you just click the share, and then you can just add like let's say this is my student, okay? Actually, both of my emails, but here. And then you can just put the email of your students here, just like this, okay? And then send it. And the student just go to their email and just accept it, like this. And the student will get an email about whether they want to edit it and join it and just open it. And then you see, so this is my student ID and this is my instructor ID, you see? So this is you see the gray color M, this is student, okay? And this is teacher, yeah, instructor. Then now let me show you this. So let's say I'm an instructor here, and actually I want to put some more notes here, more notes, production model, like you just double click it and say, uh, I wanted to teach you more about how to optimize with Python. And then like this, I want to add this. I want to give title to my code. Then you just like make a change. You just make a change, and the only thing the student need to do is just refresh it. And you can see the students like already have the update here, you see? It's actually like a very real time. And then now I'm using a free version. But if you're thinking to upgrade to the enterprise version, which also think about some education purpose, like you can actually do real-time collaborative like a coding. So nowadays, many companies in industry, they have this kind of platform. They use this kind of platform. So like they can real time, communicate with like editing the coding. So even the students also can change, and then the instructor also can change their code. And then just like how you see the Google Doc, just kind of how you see the Google Doc, like they're gonna show you some kind of cursor, and they can change each part like in real time. It's actually very amazing because so let's say you want to show them, sometimes you want to show them the error, you know. So let's say I don't define my problem. Yeah. And then surely if I run it, then I'll face the error, like this, right? You see, I have to install something, and then I have to give the code I have to show to students that like you might face error, you know. Then after you showed it to the online, screen, and the only thing you need to do is just like ask the student to refresh it. And the students also use their own browser and activate their local machine on the browser. And then they just run it too, just like this. And then they will see the error too, right? So you can also create some kind of specific like situation and then share with your students so they can also see what kind of bug and error they might face, Actually, I mean, this is very important when you do the coding, start teaching based on coding, because uh, they will see that they will see that uh, actually coding is very skill, very much, you will not only us students will face the error too, so it's gonna show a great, like experience, kind of like indirect experience, like to your students. And also you can see that it also has option that, like you can like deactivate the function that omitting the code as an output when saving the notebook. So what happened is you just like save it. After you run it, you save it. Then it will tell you the notebook has been changed outside of session because student also opened this file. So would you like to override existing changes? And then you just show difference and then save the changes. And then now your student just refresh it. And then your student actually see exact same error, exact same page. You see, exact same page, right? Yeah, with the instructor. So, you know, it's amazing because when you do online teaching, students has to like typically student have to keep watch the like a video or the like share the Zoom, and it's actually very a lot of stress. They cannot really do anything, and they if they have dual monitor, then it's good, but they don't really can do the experiments, and they're just watching what you're doing. So if you use this Google platform, Colab platform, then you can actually communicate with your student, which is actually good for online teaching. And but you might still ask, wait, but the thing is, your students, like what's gonna happen? Your students have no idea, like what are all those like syntax of the Python. Actually, that's true. Like for the beginners, like pulp.lp variable, this one just looks like any language, They have no idea how this work. But here's the thing. Uh, here's the thing. Before you go to Python like this, like a stage, as I already told you here, like when we teach this kind of modeling to business school students, we first teach them like math modeling, right? And then we show them the Excel solver. So they already know how to get the variables, objective function, and constraints. And then the last step is we bring this to where? to Python for more complex or advanced, solving method of the model. But nowadays, because of this ChatGPT, ChatGPT, like getting a model, this work is become super easy now. So, ChatGPT, like we some ask a kind of very funny question, like, I have like 3 dogs and any recommendation for their names. You know, this chat people might a lot of people still believe I think use the chatbot as like you can just get some idea or get like a knowledge of what's going on, something like today's Oscar, and then ChatGPT will collect some data and will tell you about what happening, what happened like that, right? You see? Yeah. Whole thing Oppenheimer. But actually the in my thinking, the best way to use a ChatGPT is actually it's the best tool method to study the coding, especially where if you're just beginner and if you don't really want to spend time to understand Python like syntax and study Python syntax, understand how it works, then ChatGPT is the best supporting machine for those people. So for example, let's say I want to get the Python coding for this language model. This linear model. Sorry, this linear model. So let's say like I want to ask how to get the solution, to the ChatGPT. The only thing you need to do is copy and paste it and say, give me the Python code to solve above model using Colab. And then no matter whether it's a picture or no matter it's mathematical expression, the ChatGPT understand this kind of mathematical modeling. And then in a minute, it gives you the full Python coding for you. Now I put the image here, so that's why it's kind of takes some more time. But if you just give like a mathematical model, just copy and paste it, it just tells you, it just gives you the Python coding, how to solve this. And then what I really like is actually they also kind of not just giving the code, they actually kind of analyze the mathematical model that I give it to them. And then, like when we study model optimization, we learn variables, objective function, and constraints, right? And then they just give it like this. And then you can see that it failed to give me the code. It just like solved the model, right? And now you tell them again, give me the Python code. Then you can see that they use like a SciPy optimized linear programming, but we all know that nowadays the trend is Groovy or Cplex, right? You can also ask, can you use Cplex or Groovy? And then ChatGPT say, oh, sure, why not? And then they will give you a Python code that you can use in Google Colab using Cplex or Groovy. So my recommendation for optimization, teaching optimization to students, because Groovy needs some subscription, like you might need to pay for, student might need to pay for it. And then in case Cplex, it's it's not really the best way to do the linear programming in the Python. So what I actually recommend is PULP library. So you can also tell them, can you use PULP? And then it just stop it while I stop it. And then it just give you PULP. In my personal experience, this like a PULP, this library is the best method for linear programming, like optimization using Python. So you can see that just by looking this printing here, what it's printing here, you see, it's just like what we are, it just really follow the way we do the modeling, maximization, variable, objective function. constraints, and so, you see? So like while students are, I mean, doing this, like talking with ChatGPT, they will get a kind of better understanding of a model itself. And then it actually, I mean, you can also, like, students and you also can ask, like, oh, can you give more details? And they can also learn about how, like, all the syntax work, but they don't really need to do this. Just copy it. I mean, you just bring it to Colab, yeah, right here. And then you just make the new code and just run it. Just run it and done. You see? Just like this. It's very simple, right? I mean, this, you might say, oh, Kim, this, I mean, like this kind of production model is very easy. Then how about we go to transportation problem? You see? I'm pretty sure all of you who are interested in like using Python for like optimization class, uh, the, like when you teach, like, transportation problem, you already have some experience that it takes quite a long time to put all the numbers in the format. It's a lot of work, you know. So why not just copy all this thing into the ChatGPT like this, just like what I'm doing here. Okay, just copy and paste it, copy and paste it. You know, actually, you don't really need the images. Just you know, remove them and say, give me the Python code solving model using QLP, like this. And then this is like a transportation model, right? So you can see that I have like seven, like almost like 12 different variables and 7 constraints. And then let's imagine that this is, like 20 different stores and 100 different like factories. If the size is getting bigger and bigger, solving this problem using Excel, it's just impossible. It takes too long time, too much time. So that's why we study Simplex, and we study Groupy and like PULP, and do use a coding based like solution, So you can see that it give you, oh, like PULP library. So oh, scared. Interesting. Wait a minute. And then just ask them, just give a shot, just try it. I mean, sometimes the ChatGPT machine, they believe they cannot do it, but if you ask multiple times, then it just figure it out by itself. Or could be the reason is I just copy and paste it, and it might be because it's or could be because of this. I think the way I copy and paste it could be little have some problem because it might think that this is also part of the objective function. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so you can see that this time now ChatGPT is printing it. You see, we have 3 sources and 4 destinations, and then PLP using the PLP again. See, so it's a minimization transportation cost problem, right? And then sources and the destinations. So you put the unit cost table, and then this is the summation of all the costs, so which means that's the objective function, right? See? So just like what I told you already, students will also see how you define the variables, objective function and constraints. So again, now what you have to show them, and then what students just need to do is copy this and bring it to solver, and then just put it into here, copy and paste it, and just run it. And then they'll get the answer right away. So the good thing of, like the reason I really like to like use this to teach transportation problem to students, especially transshipment problem, multi-stages. Like when you do the Excel, it's like a lot of work. They have to, like do multi-step, like they need to change the Excel multiple times. It takes a whole class, and then students keep asking for recording, and then they keep asking for like, oh, like how can I do the Excel? Like, can you check the formula? Because when you use Excel based online, like optimization, online class for optimization, you will face chaos because students having trouble with, the formula. But the good thing is, let's say some students cause trouble and happen like this, and then they will face the error here, right? And then the only thing they need to do, they just copy this and then bring it here. And just put it into the solver again. I mean, the ChatGPT again. And then ChatGPT will figure out the problem. You see, ChatGPT will figure out the problem, and it's gonna give the new code that they can run. So, which means they can self-study with the AI, and then it actually lower the burden for the instructor. So, and then they get more interested about this new technology, and then they also learn more about better, optimization modeling. I mean, modeling, so solving method. So here's how I connect, like I use this ChatGPT and the Colab. And also, if you use Google Classroom, not the Blackboard or the Canvas, then Google Classroom, ChatGPT, and this Google Colab are both from the Google. So you can actually easily dispatch this file to students as a homework. And then in case of Google Classroom, it has a function that you can see their homework, so classroom management tools and resources. So you can use this as secondary classroom, because in many like computer science like classes, they pay for some small lab or small website, and then they manage the like homework of the students. But like business school or economics or philosophy, those, I mean, if you want to teach them the Python language, that's too much work for them. But you can just make a small classroom, like it's you only very for 40 to 30 students. It's very easy and it's not really costly, or mostly it's free. And you can generate the classroom and then like, just dispatch the homework to your students. And you can also easily check the performance of them, because once you kind of share this file to your students, so when I try to, let's say I'm a student and I try to save this, let me show you. Then when I try to save this file, it doesn't really allow it, because your students and the original file is like only the instructor can, someone who create the file at the first time and share it to you can change the file. But what they can do is they can, like students can like copy your file and then save to their own drive. You see, save a copy in drive. And then they can like get a copy of your work, right? And then they can do a bunch of experiment and then finish their homework and then easily can submit it to your drive, instructor's drive. Like this gonna help you. They can just share their homework to you too. So this gonna help you significantly lower the burden of dispatch. I mean, like give the homework to your students and also collecting it back and grading, because you can also share your account with a TA and can easily create all the things, because Canvas and Blackboard does not really allow us to create, Python. And every single time they submit bunch of different version of Python, you have to like set up you have to like, check the library and settings and run it again. But if you use Google Colab, basically we are using all same setting, right? So it's very easy to like run it, and then it's very easy to grade their homework. Yeah. So this is all I want to show you today, and then I hope this one my session was very helpful to you. So I really hope that you can also use this Google Colab and the ChatGPT for non-computer science, like not when students, major students, which mean like they don't really have any background about it. And then if you also want to save your time and then focus more on your major, like material for your major and your department, like that focus knowledge. If you just want to teach students Python language or just as one of the part of the tool, just a tool for solving the problem, I believe this can help you a lot. Thank you for listening. And then if you have any question, you can always email me. So my email is mk1568 rutgers.edu. And also, if you go back to the all online conference, you can easily find my website. Thank you so much.